people of the world and all who inhabit it. It is time for my yearly ranking video of all the cartoons that came out this year. And 2020 was a terrible year, but at least we got some pretty good cartoons. Before I start this video, I'd just like to say that I have not seen every cartoon of 2020 because who has the time to? But I did see a lot, like almost 50. So please bear with me. I'm not going to include Adventure Time Disneylands on here, because even though these specials are pretty good so far, it's a continuation of Adventure Time and technically not a new show, so yeah. Also, this video falls under fair use, so don't sue me. Anyways, let's get on with the show. Number 46, at the bottom of the list we have Netflix's Hoops, which I consider to be the worst cartoon of 2020. This show is just a generic adult cartoon that furthers the stigma that all adult animation has to be raunchy and crass like South Park. Also, the art style is basically a dire Rick and Morty. I'm sick of all these Rick and Morty clones. Why can't people do something original for once? I know Phil Lord and Chris Miller can do things better than this. I mean, they made Clone High and that was a masterpiece. This show was extremely boring and bland and it got cancelled after one season, and nothing of value was lost. Number 45 is Mighty Express. So, Spin Masters thought it was a good idea to rip off Thomas and Friends. Thomas and Friends is already going down the drain with their crappy season 25 reboot coming out next year. But this show makes season 25 look like the classic series. This show is basically just Paw Patrol with trains. So Spin Master is ripping off themselves. The show is the epitome of everything wrong with preschool shows. Bright colors, stereotypical and bland characters, and too much loudness. Also, it's very bland and a huge cash grab. Avoid the show like the plague. J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales. I don't know what I was expecting with this show. I know Adult Swim is known for surrealist, a black comedy, but this show just wasn't it for me. I mean, what should we expect from the creator of the masterpiece known as King Star King? The show is so edgy that it actually hurts. Also very gory, very crass. Another case of all-adult animation is South Park. In fact, the animation in the show is a ripoff of South Park too. At least with South Park, they do it as a stylistic choice, but here it just seems like a way to cut corners. So, yeah. Crossing Swords. I really love stop motion as an art form, and so I was excited to see the show, but it was a huge disappointment. I like the whole medieval aesthetic. Not as much as other aesthetics, but I still appreciate it nowadays more than I did before. But this show just misses the target. I did a review of the show way back in June that sums up most of the problems with the show. But to put it shortly, this show is yet another crass, vulgar, and violent adult comedy with very bland and unlikable characters to boot. Solar Opposites, a show from the creators of Rick and Morty that is, to no one's surprise, a Rick and Morty clone. This show tries to be like an animated sitcom, like Mork and Mindy, or maybe even Ready Jet Go, but it doesn't understand what made the shows work so well. On the whole, the show is very bland, very boring, and there's nothing unique or interesting about it. I feel like with some tweaks to the concept it could work, but no, it had to come to this. Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. This show only airs in international markets so far, and the show is the latest installment in the Flintstones franchise, focusing on Pibbles and Bam Bam, who, to be honest, I wasn't really fond of, not even as a kid. They basically dumbed down the show to be for kids only, when the Flintstones was actually meant for a general audience at first. And it was a blueprint for so many animated sitcoms like The Simpsons, Family Guy, and whatnot. I actually really like the art style. It reminds me of Flintstones on the rocks. And the animation calls back to the days of Hanna-Barbera. But Um, this show was very generic and also mean-spirited as well. Pebbles and Bam Bam are complete jerks and brats, basically clones of Johnny Test. Star Trek Loretix. Now we're moving on from the bad shows to the meh or okay shows. Star Trek Loretix is a show for Star Trek fans first and foremost. So if you're not a fan of Star Trek, you probably won't appreciate the show. I haven't delved into the Star Trek franchise all that much. So this show didn't impress me as much as it could have if I was a Star Trek fan. I just found it very boring and a little too safe at times. Mia's Magic Playground. What even is this show? Even after I found out what it was, since I saw this on HBO Max, I still wonder, what is this? I mean, the show seems to target toddlers and babies first and foremost. I like some preschool shows, especially the ones that have witty writing like Bluey, but this show seems to be for toddlers and babies only. Why did I decide to watch this? I'm just very tired. Mia's Magic Playground is generic, cutesy, rainbowy, sunshiny, lollipoppy, basically everything cheesy and cringy. I mean, it's a harmless show at the end of the day. But skip it, please. The Midnight Gospel. Jeez, calm down, guys. I know a lot of people like this show, but I just couldn't get into it. I really wanted to like the show. Really, I did. But I found the show very boring, and the show is basically an animated podcast, so all the characters do is talk to each other. Basically Seinfeld, the animated series. The show is for stoners first and foremost, so if you're not a stoner, it's very unlikely that you won't enjoy the show. Pickwick Pack. I'm not going to be too hard on the show because it's honestly not a bad show. It's ultimately harmless at the end of the day, and a lot of my friends like this show. The character designs are cute, and the show is gentle and all, but the show just wasn't for me. I don't know if it's the one-dimensional characters or the annoying kazoo music, but while the show is cute and all, it's not something I would watch every day. That being said, more power to you if you do like the show. Baby Shark's Big Show. When I first learned of the show in June 2019, I was extremely angry because Nick Jr. is basically selling out and making another internet show like Fred the Show. And also, I personally find the Baby Shark song to be extremely annoying. I mean, who doesn't? However, the show isn't that bad. I mean, it's not educational, but what else did you expect from modern Nick Jr.? Although the show is from the creators of Breadwinners, one of my least favorite Nicktoons, there are no fart jokes or any other toilet jokes. And the animation is bouncy and expressive, the characters are cute, and there is some clever writing here and there. Again, it's not something I watch every day, but it's harmless. Magical Girl Friendship Squad. This show was lambasted by the internet. The hate for the show was really nasty. You could get sent racial slurs and death threats if you said you found the show merely okay. That's how vicious the show's hateism is. I'm gonna be honest, the show isn't that bad. Sure, it can be gross sometimes. It's not as gross as something like Hoops. And there was a lot of neckbeard Dubro incel weebs that said that the show was woke Marxist propaganda, and they acted like it took their wife and their kids. Oh my god, it's just a cartoon. Please, go outside and touch some grass. Rhyme Time Town. This is a cute preschool show made by DreamWorks. And the animation, oh my gosh, the animation of the show is so good. I could stare at it all day. Overall, the show is very cute. It puts a new spin on nursery rhyme characters and also has smart writing. So it's way better than something inane and vapid like Coco Melon. I'm a huge sucker for shows that put new twists on nursery rhymes and fairy tales like Goldie and Bear. So if you like Goldie and Bear, you should definitely check out this show. Starbeam. To be honest, this show came out of nowhere for me. And when I saw it on Netflix, I was expecting it to be really cutesy and sugary. Well, it is a cute and sweet show, but it's also action-packed and has some great lessons for kids to learn. The show is very positive and upbeat, and it's overall just a very uplifting show to watch with a powerful Asian girl hero. Power Birds. Universal Kids is a dumpster channel, but this is one of their shows that's worth watching because, oh my gosh, the animation of the show is superb. Brownback Films is goated. Their shows almost always have beautiful animation. This show is no exception. The lighting, the shading, the movement, it's all 10 out of 10. I could go on and on about the animation, but the show itself is very quirky and it takes inspiration from cheesy superhero shows and comic books. Perfect for an action-packed superhero show about birds. I do have to admit that I find the main characters, Ace and Polly, to be a little generic, and the show isn't something I would watch every day, but I would watch it if nothing else was on, because this show is fun, better than everything else on Universal Kids. Then the cats roar. I can already feel the boomers seething in the comments. To save myself any further backlash, I'm just gonna say it, the show is funny, okay? It appeals to my strange sense of humor, it's very fast paced and the animation is fun.